because I want to know, like, is it worth it? Is all of this stuff that I'm doing, all the stuff I paid for, all the time it took to install these speakers up high, was it worth it? For movies like this, yes. And I'm back. What is up, Techno Fam? Chana D, or Techno Dad here. And before we begin, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. If you're there for the Dolby Atmos demos, awesome. I welcome you. The DTSX 2017 disc is proved to have a few issues, especially those with the Panasonic player. So I'm working on trying to get that figured out for you guys, because I have more DTSX demo discs to release up there. So yeah, if you are interested in these demo discs, definitely check out becoming a patron at the $5 level. Link is down in the description. So if you've seen my Dolby Atmos review about how it's all about movement and not all Atmos mixes are created equally, I'll put a link down in the description and with the card up top so you guys can check that out. So I was talking to FOMO the other day. If you guys don't know about his channel, Stop the FOMO, definitely check him out. I'll put a link down in the description. Also, I will be on a live stream with him later today on his channel, so make sure you go over and set a reminder for that live stream. I think it's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Friday. So we've been talking, and he's hearing that, you know, Mission Impossible Fallout has one of the best Atmos mixes as far as movement up in the high channels. So me being, I don't know if it's an idiot or it's being silly, I don't know. Anyway, I watched the entire movie with just my high channels on. And for me, that's pretty easy. I can just go and turn off my power amp that's powering my 5 ear level speakers, and the high channels still go through. So if you guys want to try this, I would highly recommend doing this just to like hear how much is going on up there, because when the whole movie's going on with the score and the music and the action and the gunfire and all this stuff, you're kind of missing out on that cool experience. So I would suggest trying out these couple of scenes with your bed layer channels on and then off and then on again, just so you can hear like the high channels, or just turn them off altogether and you hear the high channels and then like turn everything back on and you'll be like, oh, okay, crazy. And then maybe turn off the high channels. So if you don't have a power amp to turn off, simple solution, just unplug the speakers. That's it. Just unplug like the positive or the negative, and then there you go. The speaker's off. I literally sat there with my laptop and took notes the entire movie with timestamps and what's going on in the scene and what's going on as far as the high channels and what's happening. So if you want to see the full rundown of that, definitely check out the description box. Oh, and before we get like totally into this, there are spoilers. I will be talking about what happens in the movie, so make sure you've already seen it or you don't care. But highly recommend purchasing this one on 4K Blu-ray, just so you have the full quality Dolby True HD version of Dolby Atmos. Now I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through the two main scenes where Atmos is rocking. Like, it's super realistic. It's super accurate with what's happening on screen. And for the most part, there's not a lot going on. Like, literally, there's not a lot. Like, there's some fight scenes and action scenes and chase scenes where there's nothing happening. Nothing happening up in the high channel. Sometimes there's some score. Now they do some creative things with the score. Like they'll have, you know, when it's a tense scene, they have this one sound that's going zit, 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 and it starts getting faster and faster, and it's going from left to right up in the high channels. There's a motorcycle chase scene. Tom Cruise is on the motorcycle and he's whizzing around, nothing in the high channels until he drives into traffic. And there's like, you know, cars whizzing by, that kind of sound, and some, you know, cars honking and stuff like that in the high channels as he's whizzing around. So that was cool. So one of the standout scenes happens about an hour in, and it's when they finally got their guy that they've been chasing and they kidnapped, and the four of them are opening the garage doors, and then there's this police officer, and she pulls out her gun. So in this whole exchange, you will actually hear the train tracks, because they're actually underneath a train track. So you're going to hear trains moving from front to back above you. That was really a standout scene, showing movement, showing accuracy with what's happening on screen. So definitely one of the scenes to check out. One of the scenes I do want to mention that is great for the Atmos effect before we get over to the main helicopter chase scene, which is the big like climax of the movie. About an hour, 17 minutes in, they are underground in these tunnels, and you're getting a lot of echo and reverb from the high channels to mimic that soundscape, sound space, whatever you like to call it, to mimic being in a tunnel. So everyone's voice has a nice echo to it, and it feels like I'm actually in that tunnel or catacomb or whatever the hell that is. All right, so the big scene is the helicopter chase scene. 1 hour, 52 minutes into the movie, you've got Ethan running up, climbing a rope, trying to get into a helicopter. And as he's climbing the rope, you've got the chopper blades spinning up above you. And they do a couple of angles of this, and you get some subtle changes in the Atmos when they change camera angles, which is good, right? Because it's supposed to mimic what the actor is doing in the scene. That's how it gets it more immersive, right? So you get the shot of the lead helicopter and Walker's in it, and you hear, like, from his standpoint, he's seated there and the helicopter spinning above you. That's what you hear. In the distance or in the background, you see Ethan trying to climb up the rope there in the following helicopter, or the helicopter with the payload, I guess you can call it. Now, what's kind of interesting is they chose to sometimes just turn off all the helicopter sounds in the high channels and run the score. So there were times when it was just the helicopter chopper blade sounds, then it was the score. Back to the helicopter chopper blade sounds, then the score. And then there were a couple of times they did mix the two together, and you can hear both of them at the same time. But it was interesting, their decisions to do that based on the camera angles as, the scene progresses. Now, when the helicopters start flying over the lake and they fly over the camera, that all sounds great. Sounds awesome. They're doing exactly what they need to do with this mix as far as matching what's happening on the screen with what's happening above you. Now, one of the things that I noticed, once Walker breaks out the gun and starts firing, none of the gun sounds at all are happening in the high channels. There's not even any like ricochet or bullet whizzing kind of sounds. All of that is probably happening in the bed channels, but I didn't hear any of it because I only have the high channels on. So it's at about 2 hours and 5 minutes into the movie. Tom Cruise rams his helicopter into the other helicopter, and man, that was super realistic. Like, yeah, pretty awesome. I would say, like, I rewound that like 3 or 4 times because that sounded really cool, really accurate as well. Now, after the helicopters land around the 2 hour, 7 minute mark of the movie, they start rolling. And this was one of probably a really cool Atmos experience, like one of the best that I've heard in movies, as not like demos, but like in movies, because it's sounding really awesome, totally matching with what's happening on screen as the helicopter's rolling. It's pretty awesome. Like, you feel like you're inside the helicopter and it's rolling, and you're like, oh, what's happening here? So definitely a good watch. Now, that's pretty much the end of the movie. If you know what happens, you know what happens. If you don't, go watch it. And yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, what kind of idiot would just sit there and watch an entire movie with only the high channels on? Because I want to know, like, is it worth it? Is all of this stuff that I'm doing, all the stuff I paid for, all the time it took to install these speakers up high, was it worth it? For movies like this, yes. Definitely yes. I wish there was more in the movie, but I can see from a production standpoint, like, they're just not going to put stuff up there just to put stuff up there, right? The score was nicely laced throughout the movie, up in the high channels to give you that tension, to give you that emotion, to invoke that feeling that the actors are going through, or the characters are going through at the time. So definitely a great job on the actual Atmos mix and the implementation of that mix for this movie. So if you don't have this, definitely check it out. I'll put a link down on Amazon. I think it's pretty cheap now because it's not like new. I don't know the price off the top of my head, but anyway, big thanks to FOMO for talking about this movie. So it actually gave me something to do. I watched it partly in here, I watched it partly upstairs, had to babysit the new puppies, while everybody else in the house was off doing something else. I'm like, oh, I can sit here, watch the dogs, and watch this movie with just the height channels. So yeah, I think I might do this a little bit more. Maybe check out Midway, or maybe check out 300. Again, if you're struggling with, was my purchase in Dolby Atmos worth it? Try doing this. Yeah, it seems a bit silly, but pick a movie that you've already seen so you don't have to like actually not know what they're talking about. Or, I mean, I ended up putting the subtitles on just to like make sure I know what it is they're saying. And then, yeah, just watch the movie with the high channels on and see what's happening up there, and see how the movement is actually coordinating with what's on screen, because chances are, it may be good, it may be okay, or it may be great, like this one where there was movement from front to back, there was movement from left to right. So it definitely was a cool exercise, and I might check out a few more discs. And if you want more reviews, Dolby Atmos reviews like this, let me know down in the comments below. Of course, if you have any other questions about this or anything else, let me know down there, or hit me up on social or email, whichever you like to use. Well, that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked it, go ahead, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel using the button in the middle of your screen. Once again, my name is Chana D. I'm your Techno Dad, and I'll see you next time.